Welcome to Idlewild Cottage, a quiet place where kindred spirits can linger together over a cup of tea, savoring all things lovely and cozy. My name is Juliana, and I'm delighted to have you. Each episode here at the cottage will center around a theme. That theme will be celebrated in a number of ways, through literature, art, nature, and even some favorite movie scenes. We'll cherish the sweet and simple things of life. So make yourself at home, and I'll put the kettle on. The true way to live is to enjoy every moment as it passes. And surely it is in the everyday things around us that the beauty of life lies. Ingalls Wilder, 1916. Welcome back to the cottage, dear kindred spirits. As you may know, we are wrapping up our winter series with this episode, and we are also closing up the cottage, so to speak, at least for now. I find myself in a rather busy season of life, and maintaining this podcast is unfortunately not something I'm able to continue with. That may change in the future, but since I don't know for sure what that future holds, I want to take this episode to, as Laura said, enjoy every moment as it passes and discover the beauty in the everyday things around us. And so we'll gather around the parlor once again. Let's come full circle, and as we did with episode 1, I'll pour out a lovely Harney & Sons tea blend called Little Women Orchard House. Throughout our time together today, we'll explore part 2 of the wintering episode I started last time, focusing on a few of the activities that brought me joy during my season of gentle wintering. In part 1, we looked at activities for the mind and heart, reading, journaling, and music. Today, we'll look at activities of a more physical nature, baking, dancing, and walking. Kindred spirits Laura, Joe, and Anne will join us in the journey. The other day, my daughter, husband, and I were watching Little House on the Prairie. I can't remember which episode it was. We were somewhere in season 4, and Ma was in the kitchen slicing bread. My daughter spied that loaf and said, "That bread looks just like yours. Mom, you made TV bread." It was high praise indeed, for she knew I had been working to perfect a loaf of bread that would be ideal for sandwiches and toast. One of my wintering activities was to test out a few tweaks here and there, and sure enough, I came up with just the recipe I was looking for. I shared this recipe, which I've named Little House Bread, in a recent Instagram reel for those who may be interested. Now, it's not just the television Ma that inspires me to make bread. Let's peek into Little House in the Big Woods to get a feel for the familiar rhythms of the Ingalls family home. Each day had its own proper work. Ma used to say, "Wash on Monday, iron on Tuesday, mend on Wednesday, churn on Thursday, clean on Friday, bake on Saturday, rest on Sunday." Laura liked the churning and the baking days best of all the week. We later read, "On Saturdays, when Ma made the bread, Laura and Mary each had a little piece of dough to make into a little loaf." The March girls find bread making to be more of a challenge, especially throughout the topsy-turvy chapter in which our beloved Little Women decide to take a break from their responsibilities and see how lovely it might be to be idle for a week. It's not very far into this experiment that Joe reflects, "Everything is out of sorts somehow." As the girls grumble and fret, we pick up. Joe departed to the kitchen, which was in a most discouraging state of confusion. Putting up a big apron, she fell to work. Hannah had left a pan of bread to rise. Meg had worked it up early, set it on the hearth for a second rising, and forgotten it. Meg was entertaining Sally Gardner in the parlor when the door flew open, and a floury, crocky, flushed, and disheveled figure appeared, demanding tartly, "I say, isn't bread riz enough when it runs over the pans?" Sally began to laugh, but Meg nodded and lifted her eyebrows as high as they would go, which caused the apparition to vanish and put the sour bread into the oven without further delay. The 1994 film adaptation of this story reveals how the girls do grow up and fall happily into various spheres of successful housekeeping. In an especially cozy scene toward the end of the film, Jo is kneading away at a wooden bowl filled with bread dough. Wrapped in her apron with flour on her cheeks, she deftly kneads and then just as skillfully turns to help Meg tend to the twins. It's a brief scene, but it invites us into those cozy flavors of home which make up the intangible ingredients, the beauty in the everyday rhythms, as Wilder would say, that often inspire me to make my own bread. Speaking of rhythms, a newly discovered wintering joy has been dancing. My daughters enjoy weekly ballroom dance classes, and when they practice at home, they invite me to step into a tango, waltz, or East Coast swing. I'm only just beginning to try out a few steps, but I can tell this is something that, with time and practice, will bring the same kinds of smiles, and no doubt laughter, we experience when watching some of our favorite movie scenes. Let's step into the cinematic realm for a moment and explore several dance numbers which are especially memorable and humorous. Scenes such as Laurie and Jo dancing in the 1994 Little Women, with Jo valiantly trying to hide the scorched backside of her dress. Or how about the iconic Christmas dance in Meet Me in St. Louis? Oh, how we giggle as Esther Smith is pulled around the dance floor with the awkward partners she at first intended to pair with the out-of-town rival, Lucille Ballard. The barn dance in 7 Brides for 7 Brothers delivers 6 full minutes of pure joy, vibrant color, and impressive athleticism, paying tribute to Millie's entertaining dance lessons in the previous Goin' Courtin' scene. Marjorie Winfield is cute as can be as she secretly takes dance lessons in the Doris Day favorite on Moonlight Bay. Her old-fashioned instructor rolls his eyes when Marjorie asks to learn the unsophisticated new turkey trot. But he rises to the occasion and, with gallant formality, trots across the dance floor with his eager student. And how much do we fall in love with George Bailey and Mary at the school dance in It's a Wonderful Life. We hold our collective breath as the exuberant couple take center stage, unaware of the pool gradually opening beneath the gym floor. Finally, as contributed by several of you kindred spirits on Instagram, the classic dance scene with Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Collins is as awkward as it is hilarious. Lizzie cries out, "Other way, Mr. Collins," as her humiliating partner prances across the dance floor. Lizzie's mortification is complete as she observes Mr. Darcy looking on in amusement. The final wintering rhythm I'd like to share is walking. We have a wetlands trail just a couple of blocks away from our home, and though it was often cold and wet during my season of wintering, I tried to keep up the habit of regular walks. In her book, I Guess I Haven't Learned That Yet, Shauna Niequist suggests that walking is the speed of the soul, the exact right pacing for our bodies and spirits and hearts and minds to reconnect, to dwell together again. This really resonates with me. There are seasons in my life where walking represents the pace of accomplishment, goals, progress. I walk quickly, I track my miles, I improve my speed. Of course, these can all be healthy habits, but then there are the seasons in which it is a gentleness to my mind and body to slow down, to invite the pacing that will reconnect my mind, body, heart, and spirit, the pace that allows for reflection, for listening, for keeping my eyes open to that which is around me. Anne Shirley is especially good at this. In a scene from Anne of Windy Poplars, she shares her love of an afternoon ramble with one of her students while canvassing the neighborhood for subscriptions for the benefit of the dramatic club. The Dawlish road was a meandering sort of road, and the afternoon was made for wanderers, or so Anne and Louis thought as they prowled along it, now and then pausing to enjoy a sudden sapphire glimpse of the strait through the trees, or to snap a particularly lovely bit of scenery or picturesque little house in a leafy hollow. "Isn't a road an interesting thing, Louis?" said Anne dreamily. "Not a straight road, but one with ends and kinks around which anything of beauty and surprise may be lurking. I've always loved bends in roads." Kindred spirits, how lovely it has been to wander together over these past episodes to discover things of beauty and surprise. I'm not sure what lies beyond this bend in the road, but I do know that I can look back and point to landmarks of joy, community, and friendship. You've reached out to tell me about the books and movies you've enjoyed because of the podcast. You've shared how your children have interacted with the episodes. You've sent photos of teacups and English countrysides, authors' homes, and beautiful art. You've been very much a part of celebrating all things lovely and cozy. In closing, I'd like to look at the words which inspired the purpose behind Idlewild Cottage. Philippians 4:8 reads, "And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable, right and pure, lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise." Kindred spirits, I do hope that the moments we've shared together have encouraged you to think about such things, to enjoy the sweet, simple, and lovely things of life, to delight in the abundant gifts of God's hand. My prayer is that you would go from here in that same spirit, and, to again quote Laura, that you would hold close the beauty of everyday life. Thank you for joining me today, dear ones. Please come again soon to Idlewild Cottage.